Oh, 2 p.m.
Ready yet, but they didn't want to. I think you got some more.
You done yet?
All right, 7:02 p.m. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Item number one, approval of the agenda. There's something there's a couple changes we need to make here. In light of the recent issues with the Iowa River, we're gonna need to discuss a resolution. In our line items, we had feed and hydrate a few hundred volunteers over the last 48 hours. We graciously have people coming up and giving us cash money, banks that are stepping up to help offset the cost of feeding them. But with your blessing, I'd like to go to the auditor and have our budget adjusted to where, with FEMA and all the reimbursement, we do need to have a line item for resource feeding them, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Well, yeah, sustenance.
Yeah, so.
Will be what FEMA will want it.
Yeah, we have to have a formal resolution, or the commission has to, we have to create a line item. We can't just pull it from a separate line item to offset those costs, so.
Is that a resolution, or is it, we just need to make the motion
I
and
think
direct you as the chair to direct Auditor Laura to then create that line?
My understanding is as long as this commission gives its blessing basically to do that, then we can do that. So I would like to add that to the agenda. And then also, we're gonna discuss the application hiring process, and I think at that point we'd wanna go into closed session. We're not gonna go into great detail, but just to apprise the commission of where we're currently at on that, so.
I'll approve, I'd make a motion to approve the agenda with the two amendments as presented.
Motion by Hoffman, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Bear, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 3, approval of the February 19th, 2019 minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Neering, second by Budwig. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Item number 4, Connor Jensen called me this afternoon. Obviously, Homeland Security and them have been a bit busy, so he's like, there's no way I'm gonna make it. He's gonna try for next month, so that's on the Alert Iowa presentation. Totally get where he's coming from, so we'll go ahead and eliminate item number 4. I guess I should have done that on the agenda option, so. Real quick, before we do go into closed session, I don't know if everybody's familiar with what's gone on upriver since Sunday afternoon, mid-afternoon. Had a significant ice jam. I want kudos to our first responders, fire, EMS, law enforcement. It's been minimal sleep the last couple of days. This makes me realize just how bad I want EMA off my plate. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't wanna say it went seamlessly, but considering what we're dealing with up there, I think it probably went as well as any of us could have planned on. I heard one fireman say they thought we used about 27,000 sandbags up there on infrastructure to preserve that from the ice jams and the flooding, and it seemed to go through Steamboat between probably 2 a.m. this morning. The bulk of it passed through Steamboat, went down, checked the Union area. It seemed to have been, hopefully, this is Marshall County, it's down there now. James, you can let us know on your way to work tomorrow. But we had a lot of volunteers. We fed a lot of people, hydrated a lot of people, but all in all, we'll do an after action debriefing in the near future. I think I've got about everything documented as much as I can for FEMA reimbursement, those type of things. Our engineer's office, secondary roads, was phenomenal on bringing us loads of sand. I mean, just everybody come out and assisted where they could. We had volunteers from from all over. Gene, you know, you were out there if you have anything to add. I just want you all to know that we should be very thankful and proud of our first responders that were out, because they put in a lot of hours, a lot of manual labor, so.
We received a lot of help from students from Ellsworth Community College as far as sandbagging the water treatment plant. Last night, received some help from some individuals up in Franklin County. And the help we got was tremendous and made everything go a lot smoother than it might have otherwise, so.
Yeah, we put a call into the college AD and said, is there anybody, and we had 15 passenger cargo vans dropping off football players and softball players, and the wrestlers went down and helped an elderly couple bag their own personal residence. I mean, there was 25, 30 wrestlers walking down the hill to go fill sandbags, so it was as horrible as the situation could have been and was. It was nice to see, as always, you know, Iowans and particularly Hardin County people pull together and do what needed. We had fire departments, I think about every department was represented
Every
either Sunday night or
department,
last
then we
night.
had Bradford.
Yeah, Bradford come down and
Yeah.
so, I mean, it was just, we had a mess and we dealt with it best we could. I think we're in pretty good shape now. The report, filing and paperwork side of it's gonna begin. And I just got an email where we're sitting here, apparently they want some of that by close of business Thursday. Thank you. But anyway, any questions, comments about, other than Iowa Falls Steamboat and Union? You know, a lot of you didn't have to be too concerned about the ice, but, hopefully, they said the last one was 1965,
Yep.
so if the next one's 54 years, I don't think any of us are too concerned about that.
I ain't gonna worry about it.
I'm not either.
Oh, come on.
So, be optimistic, Bill, come on.
You'll just-
But- Okay. And like I said, I'll keep you posted on the paperwork side of things as that moves forward, so.
Because I've got a bunch to turn in. Do you need it ASAP or?
It's too late now, Jim. Yeah, no, I'm just, yeah, get it to me, and I've let, BJ, I've let Taylor know their overtime, their loads, I don't even know how many loads of sand
Oh.
between the city and the county that we had delivered there, but I think everybody's been very conscientious about keeping track of man hours and.
Cause all those man hours go to the match. A lot of it will be a 70% reimbursement, but to get some of your man hours, every firefighter, every wrestler, every cheerleader, everybody, those hours all add up to go towards your in-kind, so that's a huge deal.
And it worked seamlessly. I mean, we had people there registering on the
Right.
computers, they signed waivers. I mean, we're discussing a little bit today, and I know there's things that probably we could have done better, and that's why we'll do a debrief and an action, after action. But I'll be honest with you, you know, when we just realized yesterday afternoon about 1 o'clock, we needed to address 12 o'clock,
Wastewater treatment plant.
1 o'clock, we had a meeting, 3 o'clock, we were filling sandbags and had, I don't know how many thousand sandbags in place in 3 hours, and we were out of there. And thank God, because about 7 o'clock,
It
it broke,
was-
and it was about 6 inches to a foot below the top of the sandbags.
Yeah.
Sunday night, we had just finished a lift station, and they pulled out because the water come up over the road and was displaced our responders, so.
It tickled me over right TV, same station, said they was still working up there. And the weather guy and the, weather channel come in and said that the dam had broke, or that it broke and it was on its way down, and here the, CBS Des Moines was still saying,
That-
one guy was still, but I think it was on a recording.
That's because they texted me at 5 minutes before that newscast and asked me
Oh,
if it
sure.
broke. And so I answered them, and
And not to drag this meeting out, but honestly, I'd been upriver at the ice jam assessing that and headed back to the wastewater treatment, and one of the chief's officers texted me a photograph of the boat club, and there's ice slabs
Mhm.
the size of vehicles up in the boat club parking lot. I was in that parking lot not 5 minutes before he sent me that picture, and it was bone dry. I mean, it would fluctuate 2, 3, 4 feet in a matter of minutes.
I've
So-
never seen ice chunks like that in Iowa.
Yeah, I mean, they were foot to 2 foot thick and,
Up in Mille Lacs, coming off that lake, yeah, you've seen them like that, but that's the first I've ever seen
but
ice
to,
chunks like that.
to all of you here, you know, thank your public safety personnel, your firemen and EMS workers and that, because it was, everybody played a role, and it was of great help and assistance, so.
And the other thing, on a bright note, if you can find something in it, is, you know, hopefully the county will get credit for the an actual event. So it'll kind of take out some of the requirements to do exercises. You hate to see that, but I know.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I was telling people, as much as we had complained in that, we're blessed that we weren't in southwest Iowa or Nebraska. It could always be worse. I mean, we're fortunate from that standpoint, so. Okay. Next item, we're going to discuss the coordinator application process, so I would ask that we go into closed
I'm
session.
gonna excuse myself.
Yeah. Close the door behind you if you don't mind.
Yep.
And then, we're going into closed session.
Okay. Oh, you want me out?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you applied, so it'd be a,
Yeah, that'd probably be, right.
be eventually. Take all your garbage with you. This is gonna be short break because
You have the rest of that.
I'll see you guys back in Iowa Falls.
Oh, that's right. I can get you right. I'll give you right.
I was gonna stick myself in the car.
You're gonna wait.
You're gonna wait.
Just to bring all of you up to speed,
So I'm gonna ask a couple of dumb questions first. We are recording, and they usually just dump this onto YouTube. I assume you're gonna wanna stop and create a separate, because closed sessions have to be recorded and put into closed files. And then, I think we have to say the reason we're going into closed session and what code section. And we have to have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
But I don't know which, I mean, the closest would be 21.5.I, but I think the person has to request the closed session because it may damage their reputation.
okay, well then that's, they recused themselves.
Perfect.
So,
Basically, I move we go into closed session.
we got a motion by Fiskus to go into closed session.
Second.
Second by Newgard. Any further discussion?
Are we gonna stop the recording though, if it gets put on?
We have to stop it. If we go into a closed
We're
session,
still gonna
it has
stop
to
the
be
recording.
separated, yeah.
And you can handle that, sir?
Yep.
Okay.
And then create a separate.
This is a
Exactly
separate
right.
recording.
And we're not gonna talk about personnel or each individual applicant, but we do have a couple, have you stopped?
No, you had a motion and a second. I haven't
Oh,
yet a vote.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Are you up and rolling? The other guys out there still? Is all we have left
Yeah,
is.
they are. You're more than welcome again.
Up to the door.
I doubt that.
Any other business to, oh, it's just Bryce, I would have left the door closed. Any other business to come before the board? Public comment, anything like that? So, again, I don't wanna harp on it too much, but please go back to your public safety services and thank them for the last 48 hours. I couldn't even tell you
Yep.
what all agencies were there, but I know we tapped a lot of them, so please pass on our, not just EMAs,
But City of Iowa
City of Iowa
Falls.
Falls as well, and I know Chief Eisentrigger up there was very thankful and
Yes.
appreciative, and as was the mayor and the citizens for sure, so.
Mhm.
Okay. Next meeting date, April 16th, 2019. Aaron, we need you. I'm just kidding. We're just public comment. Did you have anything?
Can you give us a recap on that? So where are you at in the meeting right now?
Oh, public comment. Or any other business to come before the board.
So the blizzard, was there any debriefing or any follow-up on that, Dave? I know that was kind of a mix mash of communication. we had stranded travelers, and I know the city of Eldora was looking for the cots, and nobody knew where the cots were, and
I know where they're at, they're in the EOC. That being said, you raise a good point, because this is something we discussed, and I wanna bring it up when's your next county firemen's meeting?
End of this month, last month, the fourth Monday of this month.
Fourth Monday of this month, we're at.
Well, we canceled it out of Owl Falls because of the weather, so let me check. It'll either be Owl Falls or what's next after New IJKLM and New Providence.
We're making some big decisions, and we gotta go back to
Yeah.
the alphabet. I was gonna sing it for you, but you had me, my recommendation is we figure out what we have for cots and provide each fire department, you know, if we've got, 10 departments and 100 cots, each gets 10 if they're willing to hold them. That's what I wanted to bring up at the next county firemen's meeting. Because, say 100 sitting here, we're gonna do us no good, because we weren't gonna get from Iowa Falls to here that night. But if we could divvy them cots up, so if we do have displaced people, and, you know, I mean, they're
right,
safe.
and, it's one of those coulda, shoulda, woulda, and, I think this is the first blizzard since I've lived here in 25 years, that it got pretty dicey in the roads. I know that Eldora was stranded for 24 hours about 15 years ago, but, so sometimes the debriefing, because I got negative feedback from the Eldora Fire Department, being called out to go rescue people, and, at the time, what are we gonna do? Well, they got the fire truck stuck, and so, as the public safety of Eldora, I said, okay, we need to come up with a better plan, get some snowmobiles on standby or something.
Yeah, and that was, we had a deputy that spent the night in the ditch
Yeah,
for
I heard you
8+
say
hours.
that.
You know, so I mean.
I'm not finding fault or.
Yeah, right. I don't think that's a bad idea.
Learned from, what happened. I know Hubbard ended up with,
About quite a few.
I think a dozen or so.
yeah, and Eldora ended up with about 8, and the bigger thing is, stay home, people.
We had 120-some vehicles that we had to go get people out of, so assuming at least 1, if not 5 people per vehicle, is what we had in that window, was 120-some vehicles stranded out throughout.
Yeah, and I think some of us might have been caught off guard. I was on ambulance call either Saturday or Sunday night, and, it was just the communication between dispatch. Do we know, is any road open to Iowa Falls or Grundy? Can we get anywhere? Because we did get called, we did get called out for a 911 that night,
And I've since spoke to Taylor Roll, the engineer, and they have a lot of their guys that were sleeping at shops
Yeah,
just because. But I said, we need to have that, who's our contact, that you have a 1033 ambulance
Okay.
run. Actually.
We did have.
You did have, and actually, City Plow met up with Iowa Falls City Plow.
Yeah.
And it still took an hour
To
and,
say, it took a long time,
Hour
but
and
we
20
really do
minutes.
appreciate,
Yeah. Yeah.
the help and.
but in the future, yeah, I will, arrange a after action or debrief.
Yeah, I just think
And
it-
those that
because
can
of-
come will.
who do we call, and, and the dispatchers unfortunately get stuck with so much of, I can fix it all. Well, they can't, because they only can do what they know they can do.
Well, and I don't, you keyed up your mic to talk, or they keyed up to talk to you, and it was just nonstop phone ringing in the background. It was
Yeah.
just one of those insane things. But moving forward, here's our point of contact for snowplow in Ackley, for Iowa Falls, for Eldora. I was following a state plow trying to get people, he got stuck in front of me in the middle of Highway 65. The state plowed it. So it was just one of those.
Yeah,
Stay home, people, but obviously that doesn't work. So, yeah, we could sit down, if your opinion, is it worth looking at divvying up these cots and having, 10 cots, you're probably, I'm guessing, taking up a spot maybe this wide. If each fire department had them, these people are gonna be displaced. I called down to Hubbard that night, talked to Monty, he didn't answer, but I talked to another one, like he said, he's like, they're safe, they're warm, they may not be comfortable, but you're alive. And, hopefully these people don't come walking in here thinking you're going into your fire department, going to the Doubletree. You're alive, you're warm, and you're safe, the amenities might not be the best, but we would hope that it's no more than a 12-hour period and we'd be unplugged and have them back out and about, but,
Keep you sitting in your car freezing.
well, we had some that were, we had run out of gas.
I mean, you could plan for, try to think you plan for everything, and yet it's not gonna be, nothing's ever gonna, we're not gonna ever have that same blizzard, that same situation, the
No.
same scenario.
I hope not.
And I
but,
think sometimes it's just,
but-
you just gotta use
Yeah.
common sense and do what you can do.
Yeah, and we were about that close to putting out an all-call or an all-page, anybody that has snowmobiles available. But the problem was in that, the visibility was,
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
you couldn't even see on
Everybody would've
those.
got lost.
Yeah, and
It's
if you
tough
get,
riding in that weather, I've done it before, and you can't.
yeah, if you get out like.
You're going 2 mile an hour and hope you're not going in the
You
ditch.
get out there and get lost.
Yeah, you
because
get out
can't
into a
see,
field
you
and don't know what direction you're
concept,
going
you just-
anymore, so.
You're in a worse situation than the one sitting in the car.
Yeah, and there's several times we'd have to get out of our cars and walk, because you'd hit a drift and get spun, then you get out and walk around and figure out which direction you're facing, so you know you're back on the road and not driving into the ditch or
Yeah.
whatnot, so. But I'll get something
It
scheduled
was
in.
just something that was brought up, you know, they took their trucks out. I thought they shouldn't even gone out until they had a plow escort.
There.
And the frustrating thing there for us, not frustrating in a negative, we couldn't get here if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Or the one that I know Hubbard went out on, we had one south of Iowa Falls, one south of, or over by Alden, and the other out south of Ackley. Where we get one south of Hubbard, it's gonna take our guys 2 hours minimum
Sure.
to get there, even if they can get there. So it's one of those, you're within a few miles, you have somebody that can run out. So that's why we did tap some of the fire departments, just simply because it would've taken us hours
Yeah.
to traverse that 20 miles.
I think one of our guys was up there to plow.
What's that?
I couldn't get out of my house, but I think one of our guys made it in with a snow plow in his pickup, and he was just going and getting them.
And hopefully that's,
Do they, when they have a, you know, tell everybody to stay off the road, do they find people that are in the ditch?
oh, Bill?
No, cause I worked for the state
No,
for
do we
29
find
years.
them? No, there's not a fine, there's actually some legislation that was proposed this year.
It should be, because.
I don't
that-
disagree.
I mean, I never got, thank God, all them years on the highway department, I never got called out on that. I mean, I got, we was always there. But, and lucky up there around the cities, we never got to where we had any roads shut down in 29 years, but.
Well, one of the biggest things, the technology, God bless it, but people were coming across Highway 20 and their GPS would, on their phone would say, closure ahead. So they'd exit off onto a county blacktop. Well, the closure is all of I-35 from Ames to Owatonna. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't like, hey, we got a dead deer in the middle of the road, I can't get by it. It's, the entire north-south interstate system is closed. So they'd exit off into a county road, which had been untouched from noon that day on.
They closed 35 one time here 3-4 years ago. So all the trucks got off at Ames, came up 65 and got
Hit on
stuck
Sunday.
right out there by Crippen's Corner. And there's like 14, 15 trucks out there, so they had to go out and bring a bunch of them guys in.
So it's kind of a lose-lose, but there's no way they're gonna stay off the roads. Kind of on your note again, and I don't know if they still do this, they used to do, or at least AMR did back in the day, like what they call that? a
Code
code?
white.
Was it a code white or something? Yeah, because it's just too bad to traverse. Obviously, from a 33 standpoint, we cannot do that.
We actually did that in Iowa Falls. AMR did.
Refuse to go out on 1033 runs?
No, they would go on 1033 only, they would
Right,
not do
yeah.
anything
And I
else.
don't
No
think-
transfers, no nursing
I don't
home
think we
calls,
took
no
any
nothing.
transfers, did we? Now, to me, I would leave that up to the individual.
I was the one driving
How was that?
on the first one, and I just said, I don't think we should risk putting the patient. And the situation was, it was an 85-year-old fractured hip, which Hanson, in my medical profession, they could keep her comfortable until morning. Well, they had to get her out of there and go to Mason City,
But I would assume you guys could refuse to.
and we did.
Okay, all right, good. That's my question is,
Right.
33, I get, there was
But
years ago we
we
delivered a
had-
baby in a.
But we got
Yeah.
so much grief over that, and that's where,
Yeah.
hopefully down the road, we have
Yeah.
more of this EMS associated fires in the EMA, because there has to be more unity of these different factions communicate. You know, this was a rare situation, this blizzard, but when I can't see 5 feet in front of me, that's a long ways to Mason City. And we weren't dealing with drifts yet. It was just the blinding snow and blowing.
Well, I'll get something lined up and invite whoever to the table. Is it worth having a rep from up there that is gonna call for a transfer, this person needs to go? Either, to be honest with you, life or death, you're in a hospital.
You're a hell of a lot better.
Taking you out in
than-
a blizzard is not any better than keeping your ass at the hospital, in my opinion. But I'm not a medical professional, but I mean, at least there you can keep them stabilized.
Yeah.
In the back of your-
You're
they're not any better off in the back of an ambulance getting them there if it's gonna, it would've taken,
No.
it took
It
an hour and
what,
20 minutes.
Hour, 20 minutes to get from Ackley, it's
Yeah.
gonna take you 3 hours to get to Mason City if you can even make it.
You'd have never made it.
You never
Well,
made it,
never
it's
made it.
not on
But-
Highway
Well, and nobody,
65.
they wanted to transfer him, they couldn't, you know, there's no place to go with him. We couldn't get him out of there, you can't fly him, you can't do nothing. So you do the best you can
Yep.
with what you got.
And thank God, Monday morning when I went back out, because about Sunday, about 14 hours in that, and when we went out to start towing vehicles Monday morning, I fully anticipated we're coming across somebody deceased in a vehicle. And when we hadn't, I was like, thank goodness, because I mean, we were finding cars that had been picked up by other people that we'd never had reported.
Mm.
So I think statewide, they said there's around 7,000 stranded or stranded vehicles.
That's crazy.
So,
It's interesting watching Facebook and campaigns would start pushing, you know, contact the sheriff's office, contact the governor, contact, you know, this and that, and get the guard out. I mean, it was interesting to see that
And-
drama unfold almost.
yeah. But the plus side is, when we put light bars on ambulances, fire trucks, and squad cars, they become magical.
You could drive through
We
Reading.
can go anywhere.
You can go anywhere.
Right here's your biggest problem, and people say,
Yeah.
Right.
well, you shouldn't be driving, I got this if I have a problem.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that-
assuming we can get to you, but,
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a
That gonna
second
feed
call
you?
and we didn't transport. We went to the scene.
yeah, I did hear that, right.
And just we're in phone contact at the hospital, and we didn't even try to take that one over. It was too risky for everybody involved.
Well, some of these people, unfortunately, their anxiety, they're fine until they know they can't go somewhere.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and you get those calls, which you don't know what you're going to or what you're dealing with, so. I will get that scheduled. Is there a county-wide fire contact email, like that gets to every department? I don't have every fire chief's.
Right
email.
now would be Brandon, because he's president of the
Okay.
association right now.
So if I get it to him, he can get it to the fire chiefs, and
Yeah.
EMS, I think I've got.
Ben Kraus.
Yeah, and so I'll get it out, we'll invite whoever wants to come. Back to my original question, I don't know if we answered, do we want a rep from the hospital to say, hey, they're at a hospital, they're not gonna be receiving any
Well,
better
it'd
care?
be interesting to see what their disaster emergency management plan is, not to find any fault or be critical.
Right.
Let's just hear, what do you do in event of this particular situation that unfolded? You know, if you have to get a patient X, Y, Z, what is your plan? Because
I think
if
a
you
lot of that
cannot
is-
find a transport service, what do you do? Just, I would open it that way instead
Yeah.
of,
Well, and I mean, personally, again, I'm not a doctor, but you're receiving better, more stable care at a hospital than the back of an ambulance. And why you take one person that's in medical distress, and now we're gonna multiply that by 2 or 3 by putting EMTs and paramedics and drivers and everybody else under the conditions that are,
yeah, and-
That whole decision to transport is totally up to the physician who's on duty.
yeah.
So,
to the physician, but ultimately, you could still say,
You can
we're
say, no,
not.
we're not.
Right, okay, and maybe we just need that dialogue that say, hey, if our.
and I think most crews have, I mean, it's actually in our policy, it's called the code white, which means you know, you only transport if you possibly can, if it's a critical, and if you can't, you don't even transport those if it puts everybody into jeopardy. So,
Our current policy is if we're in a tow ban, then we don't roll. And then it is up driver discretion, because a lot of things can change. And I don't even know how those tow bans get issued, or,
That thing's about as random as, and that's also been discussion at the state level. because you can have a tow ban, well, here, right here on Edgington, by come and go, it could be a complete whiteout, and 100 yards down the road, all the visibility in the world. But you can have one area where you're over a hill and it's bad, so it's not selective, and I totally get where the state's saying, well, we can't make it up to the individual. If that individual officer makes that determination, and God forbid, something bad happens, so I mean, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. And we had a lot of people that wanted towed that day, and it's just not happening. So, anyway, I will include the commission on that debriefing date and time as well, so if you are interested, by all means, you're more than welcome. You don't have to be in fire or EMS to be there, but we would welcome everybody's input, so. Any other business? Next meeting date, April 16th, following 911 meeting. Would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
By Budwick, second by Lot.
Yes, sir.
We are adjourned.